Blog Talk Radio.
The motherfucking saga continues.
Yo, what's up, world? It's badass thuggin' like I usually do, and you better turn it up, bust some speakers out, cause we off the motherfucking cuff. You dig how we do it? Dog Pound Gangsters 2000 and beyond. Blech.
What's up with it, y'all? Man, don't change that down. This your player partner, the legendary Cocaine. And you tuned in live to Off the Cuff Radio. Better not touch that down. Well.
Yeah, this is Cassidy, the hustler. And right now, you listening to the Guillotine. Show them the respect they deserve, man. Off the Cut Radio, man. Y'all already know how they doing it, man. I need y'all to stay tuned. They've been doing it for years, so show them the respect they deserve. And you heard it out of bars, mouth. Easy.
Keep it moving like this. Yo, this your boy Rampage. You're not rocking with the best. With Off the Cuff Radio. Classic. History. Fix your face to all you haters. We off the cuff, baby.
What's up, everybody? This your girl, Bonnie Dollars, the Queen of Trap, representing Crenshaw, and you are now tuned in with Off the Cuff Radio. What's up? What's up, y'all? This is Miss Irresistible, giving a shout out to the livest show on Friday nights, Off the Cuff Radio, and I'm live from the 704. Make sure y'all tune in for the blazing hot music.
What it ain't, what it do. Chili Chill from that original Lynch Mob. And Off the Cuff Radio, always where it's at on Friday nights. West, y'all. Yeah. Y'all know what it is. Episode 422 on the way. I'm your host, King Eric the Great. And you're now tuned in at the most livest direct show hitting y'all upside the head on Friday nights. Off the Cuff Radio. Sponsored by Da Vinci Clothing, Buddy Boy Entertainment, Fleetwood and the Cod Pickers, Jesse's Boutique, and Core Financial. I got my host T-Max with the facts on the line with me tonight.
What it do, y'all? This is Friday Night Fantasticness, OTC up in the building. We are live and direct. And tonight's show is a very special one. We are children of the hip-hop culture, King and myself, along with our co-hosts in spirit, Ella Sandman and Lady Chinchilla. What makes our guest tonight so special is this. This is one of the icons, the living legends, the pioneers, the influencers, one of the godfathers of not only gangster rap music, but hip-hop in general. This man is 1/4 of one of the greatest hip-hop groups ever to bless the culture with NWA. He is just as much of instrumental helping to influence so many artists, not only from the West Coast, but the East Coast, down south as well. This man is a musician. This man is a DJ, and most recently, a published author. Words cannot describe how excited we are to have him on tonight. And, of course, he's also, for our show, which is another first, he's our first guest that's been inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, y'all.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the legendary DJ Yella of NWA. Welcome.
What's up?
What's good, man?
What's going on with you, man?
Not too much. Just staying healthy. That's about it.
Dude, this is an honor, man. We're so happy to have you on, man. I mean, you know,
it's an honor
we don't have
to be on.
Yeah. So, I mean, so first off, man, I mean, how you doing? What's been going on with you? You know, I mean, just what's been happening?
Oh, I just, staying out of trouble, trying to stay healthy, doing my thing. But, I'm still here. I'm still breathing, so it's a good day.
Yes, it is. And one thing about it is to be such a distinguished curator of the culture, to be such a legendary participant in it, man. Like I said, your influence of what you, Cube, Dre, and Eazy, Arabian Prince, Egyptian Lover, all of you in that collective, what you all did, you know, is something that to this day still resonates in terms of it. I guess we're going to get right to it, man. I mean, born and raised in Los Angeles, I mean, what was it like in those early days in terms of, like, really, you know, just growing up and, you know, ultimately, you know, how you found your way, you know, into being, like, a Hall of Fame, you know, legend?
I mean, I had a normal childhood, you know, nothing, it wasn't nothing in them days. It wasn't, the gangs wasn't taken over or none of that. It wasn't even gangs at all. I mean, I had a normal childhood. We was poor, you know, P-O, but, you know, I had fun, and I never dreamed of even becoming a DJ, ever. Never even really thought about it. It just happened. And I just started DJing in the club at Eat After Dark in L.A., Avalon and El Segundo, and 2 years later, Dre came along, and we just clicked from there.
Now, a lot of people don't really understand how deep you were in music, and especially everything because you were a drum major in high school. You know, and of course, you know, you were among 9 children growing up. I mean, tell us about the hip hop scene in Los Angeles as it began to develop. Of course, with K-Day. I mean, of course, with DJ guys like DJ Unknown, who you would link up with. What was the scene like during that time in the early days?
I mean, it was more like it wasn't really a scene. It was just beginning because New York had already been there, and the East Coast started it. You know, so we just listening, vibing off of whatever come from the East Coast. But the wow, I had to just think about it. Wow, me and Unknown, you know, we kind of. I wouldn't say we started things, but we just started trying to do things, mixes for big labels like Capitol and stuff. We was trying to do all kind of stuff, mixtapes. I mean, these was real mixtapes where you actually mix songs on the tapes, not these new day mixtapes. But these, you know, we were trying to stay ahead of the game back then. And the scene was it was kind of small. It wasn't super big. K-Day just started. And, you know, they started playing hip-hop. And, you know, it was just like the beginning. It was fun in the beginning. Everything started from then. It wasn't like it just happened. Like nowadays, it's already been there. It's established. Back then, we had to earn every stripe we got for all that.
Right.
Yeah,
you know,
even going back to your days of the World Class Wrecking Crew. I mean, y'all brought the shiny suits and all of that. I'm like, y'all were the shiny suits originated before Bad Boy. So, you know, I wanted to put that out there first and foremost.
I mean, we did the suits. We were trying to impress the women. That's what we was going for. Look, we were making our biggest hits from the Wrecking Crew was slow songs. You know, it was a slow song called Lovers in the beginning, and then our last song we made was Turn Off the Lights. That became a, you know, pretty big hit back then, but we was trying to look, you know, sexy for the women. We wasn't trying to look macho. We were trying to look sexy for the women, like Prince was doing back then. So, you know, that was just the look back then.
You know, but one thing about man. Go ahead, King. Go ahead.
Right. You know, and building off that, and that's where also when you got the hip hop sound, that's where you start getting the early elements of transitioning it from that disco sound to hip hop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that was once we did all the Wrecking Crew, did 2 albums, a few singles and stuff. And then, you know, we wasn't making no money then. So, you know, Dre, you know, hooked up with E. in Cube to write the Boys in the Hood. And one day, Dre, after it was done, Dre came and said, "Hey, man, we're going to make you a super group. You should come join us. Come be with us." So I quit my little day job that I had for 3 months. And I'm like, okay, I'm down with it. And that was the start of the, I would say, is it West Coast sound? Maybe, because there was Ice-T also. So that was the start of some gangster stuff, rather.
Yeah, and it's wild, Yella, because for what you and Ice-T, for what y'all did, of course, Ice-T with his Ron Hayes album that was released in '86, that was also the same year that NWA and the Posse, y'all will release y'all albums. So these are two albums released in the one year that were really, from the LA elements, because of course, big up to Uncle Short up in the Bay in Oakland, because Short was, doing it a couple of years earlier. So
it
I
was
mean,
probably
this is
like
basically
around the same time too, if he didn't do that earlier from up there.
Right. Yeah, because a year later,
funny. I mean, it just we grew at the same time. It's funny. We grew. L.A., Compton, that all grew, and then up north, Oakland, like all almost at the same time.
Hey, going back. Hey, Max, hold on. I'm gonna ask him this now. Going back to the origins, like, what was your inspiration to get into music, and what type of music do you listen to, like genre or artist specifically?
Back then, I listened to, Parliament, Bootsy, Rick James, Prince, all the funk. It was all the funk. Even there was, like, David Bowie. That was funk. One song was funk. We listened to all the funky stuff. But back then, radio was like everything plays on one station. It wasn't a hip-hop station until K-Day came and stuff like that. So, I mean, we just... That's funny. I knew how to play. I was the only, I guess, real musician in the group because I played the drums. But it was just, man, we just did our thing and didn't plan on it, didn't think about, Hall of Fame coming up, a movie coming up, gold records, platinum, triple platinum. We weren't thinking none of that stuff. All we thought about was just, at that moment, was the love for music. And we just did it our way. Even the lyrics, the tracks, everything. We just did it our way.
And when you all came in the game, Yella, for what y'all brought, because when we look at hip-hop, we've had so many guests on the show. We've talked about the origins in terms of how far hip-hop really goes back. Of course, even with James Brown, in terms of in the JBs with, James really doing a lot of his ad-libs, the JBs that would really come up with the funk rhythms. This is going back almost 30 years before, you all really come in. So, and then, of course, the 70s with the Last Poets, Gil Scott-Heron, 78 with Sugar Hill Gang. This is when we really start to, this is what some
started really seeing hip-hop.
Yeah.
Or rap,
exactly,
or whatever they
sir.
call it,
And then,
and then
in the 80s, we see, of course, 1984, 85, we see Def Jam coming in, Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons, Run DMC, LL Cool J, Beastie Boys. So the East Coast is building. You all are coming on the West Coast with a whole different sound, and because, you all, of course, with Ice-T, was really bringing it from his style with the Ron Hayes album to more of the street element, where you all followed up with that later on. You all gave a sound to a whole new dimension of a conceptualized rhyme and music style that, quite honestly, just redefined the genre as we knew it.
They had rock and roll energy. You know what I mean? Because even though what they were doing on the East at the time, it was more so. It was more so like rappity rap at that time. But what you guys did, y'all went ahead, y'all took different elements. Because DMC, he had the yelling. Now you know how he would yell on the mic, and y'all brought Doc up there, and Cube used to do that. Then y'all had the funk. Y'all had all these different ingredients, and y'all put it in y'all sound. That's what made y'all a standout.
Yeah. I mean, we try to try to be different, not biting off of everybody, you know. But think about back then, when you hear a song, even if you don't know the name, you know what group it is or what camp it came from. Nobody copied off of each other back then. You know, nowadays there's so many groups, there's so many this. But back then, you know, we just came with our just sound. What our lyrics, we open our front door, that's our lyrics, whatever we see in the ghetto. And the thing about it, people can relate to it because there's ghettos in every state, every city. There's ghettos everywhere, all around the world. People can relate, you know, what's going on, the police, poverty, you know, whatever it is going on in the ghetto, they can relate. That was our lyrics, and our sound was just really coming from the ghetto too. That's all we knew. That's what we knew. We did the electronic and the Wrecking Crew, then we grew out of that and changed the whole different sound. We made it, you know, just made our own sound, and it just took off.
Yeah, and what was it like, you know, in terms of, you know, when you all were starting out from the World Wrecking Crew to, you know, later on NWA, in terms of, like, tell us about some of the clubs back in the day, like the Palladium, Skateland, and all those spots, you know, during that time. What was it like with the club scene?
I mean, we kind of had an advantage because we was in the Wrecking Crew, but we had a club every Friday and Saturday night all year round. So we you know, we had parties every weekend. Sunday sometime if it's a holiday on Monday. So we had a little advantages. I mean, the club scene was just, because it was a teenage club, so it was just off the hook. I mean, you know, we have a 99-cent jam on Fridays, and the line is around the building for an hour before it opens up. It just, the energy was just there. Then once the club closed, we started doing Skateland. And it was like the same thing, just a different, it was around the corner, basically. But the club scene was just so, I mean, it was really dancing. Everybody danced. When you play slow songs, everybody danced off the slow song. You know, it was just a different thing back then. And us DJing, we learned to talk on the microphone. We didn't just be quiet and do some mixes. No, you had to talk to the people. You had to rock the house back then.
Oh, man. That's a very overlooked origin of that, man. Like, you got to be able to communicate with people to make those records transition.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The DJ was like a star back then. The DJ in a club a star. The DJs were the star. We felt more like stars in them days than in NWA days. It was just different. The vibe was different.
Now, during that time, of course, you know, obviously you all, you know, are just starting out like anybody. Tell us about some of your interactions with some of the other artists, you know, in terms of like, you know, like MCA, the Compton's Most Wanted, King T, of course, you know, Battle Cat.
There's a guy named Mixmaster Spade was before all that.
Right, can't forget Mixmaster Spade, the legend. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
what was it like? Spade was a homeboy.
Yeah.
I like Spade. Yeah. We used to do shows and see Spade and stuff, but it was just, you know, they say we put Compton on the map, but you know, first people used to think Compton was a bad word in their mouth. You say Compton, they go, ugh, Compton. But then somehow we just changed that all around. And then all the Quicks and the King T's, everybody just came after us. It just flowed right in. Then next was Long Beach, you know, all that. So it was just, it's crazy. It was just a sound that's still around today. Hip-hop is still around. Hip-hop is in all music. I don't care if it's country, western, all kind of music.
Oh, yeah.
That hip-hop beat is somewhere in there. And it wasn't supposed to last this long. It was supposed to be like disco, in and out. But it didn't. It just kept going and kept going. Now when it went down south, now it went up to Ohio with Bone and them. I mean, it's just all over now. Hip-hop is here to stay. It ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
And you know,
and I think
going into that first project when you guys, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on to the show is we want to know, like, what was the production process like for NWA? Like, who was producing the group's music? Was it you or Dre, or did y'all have to understanding?
No, it was Dre. I mean, it was me.
Mm-hmm.
We there was understanding. We didn't have to talk, but it was Dre. I mean, Dre be on the drum machine and stuff. I'm on the mixing board. Then when it's time, okay, let me run down there and program it. Sequence it, because we had 808 in the back then was SP 1200 during the NWA days. We sync them together. We figured out how to sync all that. It wasn't samples and all this stuff. Even though the SP 1200 can sample, but we figured out to run the real 808. That's why we can get that sound we had. Oh, yeah, because when you walk in the studio, what do you see? You see me on the board, and you see Dre right in front of the drum machine. That's how it went down. All the songs. We was right there, all of us together. And then everybody writing their lyrics. Most of the songs was wrote in the studio. Everything was done in the studio. We didn't make demos and all that stuff. We just did like a song a day right in the studio.
And it's wild, Yella, because I know with a lot of the situations back in the day, if I could liken it to a lot, because I'm a big heavy metal head too, especially Bay Area thrash metal. Forbidden, Testament, Exodus, Violent. I know back in the day, in terms of the recording process for a lot of groups, it was like, the budgets were very kind of stringent, like, y'all got to get in and get this thing done and get out. What was it like during that time in terms of budgeting and just really making sure that everything was, like, processed? Because as, you relay all this information, it's pretty much like once y'all really understood what y'all were doing with it, it wasn't hard at all to really put everything together.
Oh, yeah, because from the Wrecking Crew day, we learned. We learned all the machines. We learned to mix our own songs. We mixed, me and Dre mixed everything. I mean, we just learned that sound. Like when we record our drums, we record in 3 kicks at one time. Make it fat, a couple of snares. And the key to what we did back then, we would EQ our sound as we recording it. So when we mix it down later, we EQ it again. So we got a lot of sound out of it. And we was fortunate to be on I forgot the name of it, a Trident, which was a good board back then. Not the SLR, but it's right under it. And it's the good sound. And the tape machine that we recorded on, the 24 track, it recorded big rock groups from the 70s. So that machine we used had history. I forgot the name of the groups, but they're huge groups that recorded on that same machine. And it's just the sound. We knew how to get the sound, how to, to EQ the mics. We mix. We take a day to mix a song or something. We just had the ears for it. And then after all that recording, then we go get it mastered. See, that's where a lot of people, in the old days, they went and got their songs mastered. We used to go to Bernie Grumman, which was the top of the line back then. Michael Jackson, all of them mastered there. And that sound, we just learned that sound, how to get it. Just like the SP12. You put a little sample in, you put it in there fast so you can get more time, and then when you slow it down, it comes that dirty grit sound. Only the SP1200s makes that sound. No other machine can do it. There's something about that SP1200.
Yeah, and I know for producers. Go ahead, King, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was saying that what's also what made you guys such transitions were y'all also put a lot of thought in behind making y'all records, just like y'all mixed a lot of comedy with y'all records. Like even when you listen to Eazy E's debut album, the Eazy Does It, the first song in, they had the opener when y'all had the jokes.
The old man, that was Cube and Dre.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just, I guess it was reality rap back then. We was like ahead of our time. You put a little commercials in there. We started, I didn't know anybody else did commercials in between the songs but us.
Exactly.
We started putting them in, and they started to be a little funny, and don't drink that wine from the last album commercial. I mean, we just instead of just a song fade in, no, we try to make it like a mixtape almost, where it just blends together. We always cued it, we always edited just right, so when the song go off, the other one come in on beat or something. We did it from coming from DJs. That's how we made songs.
Yeah, man. Oh, newsflash. I just texted Jazz from HWA. She says much love. She says, hey. She just wants to say how you doing and everything. So she just wanted to shout you out and just say, hope all is well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow, Jazz. I haven't talked to her in a long time.
Yeah. We'll have to reconnect y'all, man. Great. She stand up for real. Yeah, man. I know the SP1200s from the producer perspective. I remember, when I was a youngin' listening to Showbiz and AG's Next Level, and that's when I really started hearing about it. SP12s. So
and then the SP12, then the 1200 came. The 1200 had double. It had 10 seconds, I think, of sample time. The first one had 5. So we had to work it. We get a kick drum or a snare drum or whatever we take off a song or something. So, but the SP1200, we can get a little bit more into it.
Yeah.
And we also had, back then, there was a very expensive piece of equipment. I called it emulator. The first real sample. You could sample like whole songs and stuff. We invested in one of them, and we use that quite a bit.
Yeah, I was reading the Wu-Tang manual, and RZA, he talked about the processes in terms of all the equipment that he had with the Casio and all that, and everything that would go to be an instrumental building his sound. Now, with Eazy, of course, what was that like in terms of when, you and Eazy had connected it? Because, of course, we know the story with Eazy being really instrumental in terms of having the financial resources that would really help bring the vision to fruition. What was it like meeting Eric in those early days?
I mean, he was just a cool guy off the street, just regular, little short guy, and it just clicked. All of us when we met each other, or they've been meeting, everything just clicked like a family, like all brothers. It was just. We wasn't all there because of business. No, we was all there to make music. And if something happened, that's cool. If it didn't, it's still cool. But he was cool. I mean, just regular old guy, down there, dressed a little sharp, had all this feeler on and all that stuff, but he was a cool guy.
How did the vision for...
Oh, go ahead, G-Man. Go ahead.
Well, how did the vision ultimately... After NWA and the Posse album, 2 years later, you all would just come with a monumental bomb that would just detonate on unsuspecting ears. Straight Outta Compton was a watershed moment because it was an album to really tackle the street-level perspective from Los Angeles. New York had already had, of course, the Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, The Message. You all brought it from another level because nobody really understood West Coast life from that perspective until, of course, y'all dropped
Yeah, I mean, because think about it, their songs was from
go ahead.
New York ghetto. Their songs was from New York ghetto. That's how they see it. We came a totally different way. The gangs and the police, even the Grandmaster Flash, they talk about the police a little bit in a couple of songs, I remember. That was just their ghetto. That was New York. That was East Coast. But West Coast was just totally different. We just came from a different way, a different vibe. Different things going on in this ghetto.
and
y'all
of course,
y'all mixed it with humor. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
Y'all would tell them, just like with Boys in the Hood, it also could seem like a funny storytelling track.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was just like I said, it was just like reality. what we rapped about, we opened our front door. That's what we rapped about. Them streets.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we knew. We didn't rap about Disneyland or New York or China. We didn't, because we never been in them places. So we just rapped about what we seen out our door. You know, cruise in the 6'4s was out here. They wasn't in New York, but in L.A., Compton, 6'4s and all of them. You know, lowriders. That's what it was. But that's what we rapped about. 8 Ball. I don't think 8 Ball was in New York.
The vernacular. Right, it wasn't a vernacular in terms of, how, if you was deep in the game on a block, you knew, but that was something that had not reached the lexicon of the hip-hop collective and the consciousness of it yet. Now, you all are in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. Crack hit around 84, and that is pretty much regarded as where it really, really hit hard. Now, you're adding gangs into it when you're already dealing with the Crips from, the late 60s, of course, with, Tookie Williams and Raymond Washington, and then a couple of years later, you have the Pyrus and the Bloods that would come off of the Pyrus from them. Yeah. So, this is roughly almost about 15, 16 years in where, not only is the gangs already set, but now you've added this powder keg of drugs into it. What were the streets of Los Angeles like from a street level at that time in terms of what was going on out there?
I mean, to me, because we from Compton, it is no big thing. But to me, the gang stuff really didn't get crazy looking into after Colors. Seemed like it just
1988, Oliver Stone.
The movie, it just seemed like it just when that came out, it went all around the state, all other countries. I mean, not countries, but other states and stuff. That went crazy. But in '84, once that hit the ghetto, oh my God, that is one drug that ruined families. I mean, ruined whole families. Just like, wow. It's just like amazing. Even my brother was hooked on it for 35 years. 35 years. And he got off of it in one day. One day. When a person gets tired of it, they can get off of it if they want to. That's if they want to. But yeah, 84 is just the gangs. Because I graduated in 80. The gangs, wasn't a handful of gangs. But once they started getting to 84 and all that, that's when the gangs seemed like they start growing a little bit until the later 80s when it started to get real, big. Like I said, when the movie Colors came out, it just exploded. Then that's when all the gang members want to be on CNN and all this stuff, all kinds of stuff. It got exposed, and the world just was caught. They didn't know what to do. Yeah,
and that was when we were shorties when Colors came out in '88. I remember watching it, and King, my brother, he's from North Carolina. I'm from Virginia. So we were too young at the time to really, really, really understand. Yeah. And what made it wild about it, Yella, was when we look at it from that era, is the game progressed in music, and on off the cuff, we just try to be historically as accurate as we can, but we never say anything to incriminate or, to, sensationalize. When we look at it, Ice-T, we know he was repping the blues side, Hoover. We know Eazy was, Kelly Park along with Ren. Yeah. But this was something that back in the day, even with y'all music, you talked about it, but there was never really any alluding to, sets or whatever,
Yeah, because we was kind of, we were just neutral.
Right.
We didn't say the blood, the cuz. We didn't pick a side. No, we were just neutral. All we did, we were just underground reporters telling it what's going on. That's what we did. Mm-hmm. And that's why the cursing and all that, the hard lyrics, we just reported it as, what we see or what goes on. We never said in the records, because we wasn't a political group at all. Public Enemy, yeah, that's totally different. But we wasn't political
right,
at all.
Right.
We might have been ghetto political. But we were just talking about the ghetto, and yeah, we didn't pick no side. You know, none at all. That's just, we were just neutral. We can relate to either side. It didn't matter.
So the way y'all did because this was confusing to me at first, like how y'all released Straight Outta Compton and Eazy does it. So were all the songs, y'all were just recording the records, and y'all was the records that it made Eazy does it, y'all was gonna put on Straight Outta Compton?
No, it was. I figured out how we made the album Straight Outta Compton in a month, less than a month. When we did, if you look at Eazy's album, the cover. You look at it, that's an NWA cover with everybody on it.
Right.
But somebody, I don't know who it was, Dre, I don't know who it was, came up and said, why don't we make two groups out of the one? That'd be double the money. So that was a brilliant idea. So Eazy's album, we did that. And then we did the Straight Outta Compton. What it was, Straight Outta Compton had some of the singles that we made earlier. We just pulled them and put them on the album. You know, even, some of the songs we did remixes for and stuff like that. But some of the songs was old already. So it was just like, it's the same group, but we just split it up into two.
Now, in terms of the photography for it, I believe the individual who did that was Eric Poppleton and Kevin Hoffman.
Which one?
A photographer and art director, respectfully. Yes, is that who they were?
Which cover?
For Straight Outta Compton, the record cover.
I don't remember who it was, because I remember that cover, that picture was not the cover for the album. They Priority wanted to use another cover. We was in the alley. It was the same day. We was in the alley walking, and they was leaning towards that picture, because the picture that was taken for that cover, it only was like 4 or 5 shots of it. It wasn't very many taken. The guy just got on the ground, and we just stood around, and he just took them. Because he didn't even light it up or anything. And that picture was not meant for the cover. Not at all.
Are we getting exclusive with this? Because I don't think anybody else has ever known that story.
Because I used to go up to Priority all the time, just to check on things. And I remember when they was working on the cover, it was other pictures they was looking at, and I remember seeing that picture. And I remember saying, oh, that's a nice album cover looking picture, and that's all I mentioned about it. And then once the record got done, that was the album cover. So evidently somebody picked that, because that was not the original. They wasn't picking that. They was picking something else. See, I remember a lot of this stuff back then.
But I think what made that cover resonate so much, Yella, was that it was raw. I know a little bit about photography, but it was untouched. It wasn't edited.
Yeah.
It was just a dude laying down, shoot a camera up with a gun pointing at him.
Yeah, and he didn't even have nothing to lay on. He laid in the dirt. The dirt, or I'm trying to think, was it a parking lot? I can't remember where it was. I remember he just laid down. He didn't lay nothing down to lay on it. He laid down, took 4 or 5, maybe 6 shots. And I think that was all the pictures taken of that. He didn't have no lights, nothing. He just took it. And it just became an iconic picture. It's different. Nobody else had made a cover like that at all. It was just totally different. And he had the little starter pistol in his hand, but nobody knew it was a starter pistol, but it looked great.
Right, the visual.
And even our clothing, we wasn't dressed in black. Everybody was wearing what they was wearing. Me, I had an Angels jersey and a Laker jacket.
But sometimes the best surprises, they just come spontaneous, and that's what made it work.
Stuff like that, like in the recording studio. Something you do something accidentally, sometimes you're like, oh, we're keeping that. Sometimes that happens a lot. And it just, like you said, it just spur the moment pictures or something. They just come out the best. if we were to try to plan to shoot that shot, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have came out like that one. That one was not planned at all, or spur of the moment. I remember it.
And, you know,
right.
Build it. And, you know, continue with the Straight Outta Compton album. I got to say that was probably this is what I would call like the two-piece. Like, y'all hit us with two-piece, like with the Straight Outta Compton single. Then you hit the F the Police, two of the hardest records. Yeah, you hit us like with the two-piece right there. So you know we had to stay glued as the listener.
Oh, yeah, it was just... Now, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, now, with recording F the Police, man, like, what was the true motivation behind that? Like, was that experiences that you guys personally went through?
I know I've been jacked by the police. We even been jacked, just like the movie, not exactly like that, but we've been jacked in front of the studio, because the studio was in Torrance. And our color don't supposed to be out at night in Torrance. That's a place where if you with your homies, you don't drive through Torrance, even to this day.
Wow.
We've been jacked in front of the studio. We jacked in front of the studio. Once they found out that we was in there and musicians or something, they didn't do it no more. That's why they even let us one day when they got that picture of us sitting on the front of the police car. That was in front of the studio. But yeah, we've been jacked, you know, just jacked for nothing. You know, you standing around, police, on the car and all that. So, but what we did, we didn't create nothing new on that song. That people been wanting to say that for years. Think about it. Back then, people wasn't bold enough to say it to the cops, because you'd get cracked in the mouth if you say something like that to the cops. Nowadays, they all in their face saying it. It's nothing now. They can do it anyway. But back then, we just made a song that for years, since the 70s, since the 60s, people been wanting to say that to the cops' face or point the finger at the cops. We just did it. We didn't do it to make it controversial. We just did the song. We did something that a lot of people wanted to say.
You know, and I think it resonates so much.
Hey, T-Max, I had to add this to it right here while we talking about this topic here. Now, we know that Rick James, he did the song on Mr. Policeman, which, you know, that addressed, you know, the issues with police in the black community. But what made you guys different, y'all had the whole skit in the beginning, like the judge and the jury.
Yeah.
And y'all just played it all like, fuck the police. You know what I'm saying? And it was just more bold.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just something that people been wanting to say. But you just, back in them days, you just didn't say that. Yeah, you say that around your buddies and stuff, but you don't say that too much in public back then. That's why the FBI ended up sending us a letter. You know, we kind of like crossed the line here. But it was within our rights, but we crossed the line.
But I tell you, Yella, and you know, Fuck the Police was a powerful record, but I think we have to look at that song in terms of the template that it was laid behind in the historical context. This is where the O.J. documentary Made in America comes in, because when you look at the history of Los Angeles in terms of what was going on with Daryl Gates as the chief of police department, if I got my historical facts right, he was the person who would lay down the the 6 a.m., door knockdowners known as the SWAT team. He was actually, I believe, the one who actually, instituted the what's the word I'm looking for? The foundation that would become what we know as SWAT teams and crash teams. And then
the Bat-Around, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
the Bat-Around. They were tearing houses up.
Yeah. So and also, Yella, we're not even getting into the part about when we're looking at all the, all the things that were going on in LA, like with the Watts riots in the 60s and all that. So there was already that tension, that abhorrence, that outright disdain for not only law enforcement but seemingly the establishment in general. So y'all music did at that time was it articulated that urban sentiment, that anger, that frustration, that revolutionary spirit that would make that song so iconic.
Now think about this. It was so iconic. 30 years later, it's the number one downloaded song during all the riot, not the riots, but all the George Floyd stuff. It was just, that song still was like fresh and new to the people because the same thing been going on forever. It ain't stopped. Ain't gonna stop. That song will last probably another 100 years.
Take us through that process of Straight Outta Compton in terms of recording. I mean, with, of course, Express Yourself, Fuck the Police. I mean, all of that. I mean, dope.
Oh, yeah. It was, it was just like, because that's when the docs started coming around and started writing these parts. And E liked them, liked the way he wrote. It was different from Cube and Ren style. Different, because Doc came with a different flow. I mean, it was so funky the way he write. He liked his lyrics. But, we did Straight Outta Compton, The Police All. Then Express Yourself, that was Dre's first really time rapping on that album. But he had rapped with him and Ren on a couple of other songs, Compton in the House and stuff like that. We actually, Compton in the House was an old song that we remixed it for that album. Parental Discretion, the one where I played the drums on, and that one, we just did our thing on there. It was just, we made it so fast, and I just didn't really realize. I'm like, wow, we had a lot of old songs. We put a lot of old songs that we had already done on there. But
how many songs did
everybody
y'all record during that period?
Like whatever you hear on records, that's what we recorded. There was no extra songs laying around because we didn't make demos. We made them day by day. We go to studio Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock to about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock maybe. Now we didn't stay. We wouldn't know all-nighters and stuff like that. By 8 o'clock, we out the studio. It was just like a set program every day. So we would have, we would have the studio booked up. Nobody else can get in. So we had it blocked out. And we just went in there day by day, did the tracks and all that, and then everybody go in their little corners. Not E, of course, he didn't write nothing, but everybody go in their corners and write their lyrics, and then, bam, come back, and song's done. A day. That's all it took. Not take it home, listen to the tape and all. Nah. Them songs was done right then. Right on the spot. And not a lot of takes on them, too. Like the DOC. Oh. When he did parts, he was a one-take wonder. He could do it one take and boom. He's done. You ain't got to do him no more. Cube and all of them, very few punches. Very few punches. But E, that's a whole nother subject there,
I saw the footage.
We have a whole subject just on that by itself. Because he just wasn't a natural rapper.
Right.
I mean, but he had the sound, he had the look, and his lyrics just was raw. So it's just like, wow. But if he had the battle, nah. He couldn't. Nah, he couldn't. He barely remembered a word from the song when we did shows. So he just wasn't a natural. He wasn't a rapper. But he had that sound, and the words was wrote just right, and it just wow. Because people thought he was all the people thought he was 16 or something rapping.
Yeah,
because he just mentioned it in one of the songs, and they stayed with that for a long time. Or 15, yeah, that was the age. 15. They thought he was 15 years old.
Yeah, because of his size and his pitch.
Yeah. Wow, man. Them, so them was the golden age of music. That era. Because you had all the Public Enemies, Run DMCs, LLs. I mean, it just
KRS.
The Too Shorts. I mean, it wasn't too many groups back then. Everybody was different sound, different style, talk about different things. We talk about this. Too Short talk about that. PE talk about that. Run MC talked about this. You know, everybody, it was just all different. It wasn't oversaturated with groups like nowadays. There's so many groups. You know, it's so easy to make songs now. You know, back then we had to create the sound. We couldn't just go pull it off of YouTube or something like that, Google it and stuff like that. We had to, all the groups, they had to just do stuff from scratch.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're going to the golden era, and this is where, you know, a lot of people feel that the game didn't change is when hip-hop started becoming more corporate. And when they start finding that there's money to be involved, this is where, you know, usually in America, when things go corporate, things go down south. So,
yeah,
a question I want to pitch to you is about when Jerry Heller came into the scene, and did it change the dynamic of you guys' relationship?
No, because Jerry was there at the tail end of the Wrecking Crew. He came in, Lonzo brought him in from somewhere, so he came in at the tail end right before we left the Wrecking Crew, and he got us one big show in London, which was the Fresh Fest out there.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he got us on the Fresh Fest. I think it was 85, 84, one of them years, it was the Fresh Fest. So then E brought him around when we started doing the Ruthless stuff. But Jerry got us the deals and got us all these deals at these different labels. You know, distribution deals, Priority, and then JJ Fad, they was on Atlantic, and then they started being a lot of deals. But the problem with him, that we were just, you know, we all was young. And there was no paperwork and stuff. You think about this. We did all these songs. Our first piece of paperwork was in 89, in the middle of the tour. That's the first time we signed some contracts. And that's when Q left at that time. I mean, that was the first paperwork we seen. It wasn't that E was dirty or nothing like that. No. E was just like us. He learned it just like us. Now, the problem with, I call him Mr. Manager, the problem was he was getting 20% of the group. Okay, we can deal with that. That's no problem. But he was also getting 20% of the label.
What?
That's the conflict of interest right there.
Yeah.
Is it dirty or is it just, you know?
Now, Yella,
but we being
Yella, before
young,
we go, yeah. Now, before we go on with that, because we don't want to break your train of thought, but we got to ask you this question. Now, there's always been a debate about Ruthless Records in terms of who really was running it. Was it Eazy or Jerry's label?
No, E. It was all E. There was nobody.
Okay.
It was all E. It wasn't. I don't care what. I don't know where all that. They was both. Nah. It was all E. But see, this is the thing about E. E was not dirty. In my eyes. He didn't know. It's like this. Millions of dollars or whatever is coming in. A young guy out the ghetto, you know. So whatever was pushed in front of him to sign, he didn't know what he was signing.
Gotcha.
You know, you just like, oh, sign this, sign this, sign this. So, you know, it's the older person that's been around music for years, decades, that knew how to, I ain't saying being crooked, but knew how to do whatever he did.
Make it work.
Like I said, he did both sides.
Right.
Yeah, 20% from here, 20% from there. So when I did this JJ Fad's second album, I remember, Dre didn't want to do it, so I had to do it. And I went to the manager to say, hey, you know, about getting paid. He told me, go ask Z. I'm like, ain't you the manager? So that's what I'm saying. It's just like, we didn't have our own managers as groups. The label didn't have its own manager as a label. You know, own lawyers. We didn't see. We were so young, and I guess we was talented or something. You know, we was making so many records back to back to back to back. Think about this. Ruthless was really only 4 years with the hits.
Right.
By the time we finally got off the first couple of singles and stuff, once we started doing JJ Fad's gold single, gold album, we was rolling back to back to back. There was no paperwork during all them days. And then in the middle of the tour, this the first time, the manager came on tour. He didn't go on tour with us. No, he came out the one time, and that's when the contract was there. And, a young kid, and they offering $75,000 check to sign. I picked the contract up, flipped it over, signed it. Give me my check. We was young. We didn't know nothing. I guess Cube didn't sign his, and that's when he left, after that tour. So that's what I'm saying. It wasn't E that was crooked. No. He didn't even know what was going on. I'm quite sure he didn't. Not at all. We were just got taken advantage of. That's how I see it. We just, somebody manipulated the situation. Oh, they don't know nothing. They don't know. They don't know about publishing, producers, writers, all this kind of different ways to get paid off of one song. We didn't know all that stuff. But we had to learn. We had to learn the hard way, but we learned.
Those years, because the story goes pretty much after, because I want to ask you, being the direct source who was involved, and then, of course, correlating this with the movie, because, of course, in the scene, where Cube is talking to Jerry, of course, O'Shea talking to, of course, Paul Giamatti, they're speaking about, where he's talking about what's really going on with this money. And Cube said this in Beef 3 when he was talking about what was going on in terms of the money wasn't right. And I'm wondering, the thing is, why is it, he's getting so much and we're not getting anything? And, of course, like you said, that was a situation. There was no paperwork, so Cube had never officially signed to the group, and that's how he was able to leave when he did. Now, the situation, Cube had called you about that in terms of asking, did you want to come with him when all of this came?
No, not Cube. That was Dre.
Well, okay, that was Dre. Okay, Dre. That's right, Dre.
Cube was
Dre called you. Right. Now, when Dre was leaving, when Dre would end up leaving, he called you about it after Dre saw what was going on with it. Because obviously, because we still have to get into the whole part after Cube left about what were the dynamics with the group in terms of what was going on. Because obviously, for obvious reasons, there was a lot of acrimony and hostility until everybody kind of saw it. Okay, go ahead.
I put it like, I wouldn't say hostility. I wouldn't. To me, the reason why the group broke up, even Cube, even Dre, why it dissolved, broke up, was outsiders looking at the inside. The inside is us, the five. That's the us. That's the five. There was no problems between us that I've got you. No arguments, no nothing. But it was outsiders seeing what they can get or what they can come up off of or whatever their reason was. That's what broke the group up. It wasn't us arguing and breaking it. No. It was the outsiders, the looky-loos, whoever it was. That's what destroyed the group. But I put it on this note. It was better that Cube left, and it was better that when Dre left, the group dissolved. It wasn't even a breakup; it just dissolved. It was better for them in their careers. It's just amazing. That group had to break up. Think about this: it had to break up, then come back 30 years later and make a #1 movie, and then Hall of Fame, and then all this stuff, reselling the songs like they was brand new again. It had to break up then. We broke up at #1 on the Billboard. #1.
You went out on top.
You
went out on top.
We had just shipped gold. That was unheard of for hip hop groups back then. To come out the box gold, that was just, and we broke up at that while we were up there. So it's just an amazing story. All that, and still 30 years later, the group is still getting talked about. And still, I mean, how many groups done that? I don't know very many. I don't know any. Even rock and roll groups, heavy metal. I mean, how many did that? Usually they break up when they going downhill at the bottom of the chart. They're not even on the chart. Not at number one.
But Yella, look at the tree that broke off from that. I mean, you know, we have Snoop Dogg, we got Dubs. You know, I mean,
now think about this before you go down that trail. Think about this. Go back before music. Me and Dre DJing. Me and Dre started doing music first. We was the egg. Me and Dre. We was the egg. And think of all that came out of that egg once you crack it. Snoop, Eminem, 50 Cent, Cube, E, Dre. I mean, so much came out of that. Michelle A, JJ said, there's so many. Warren G. It's so many. Wow.
Gang.
Just,
I mean,
all that came from back.
Kendrick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's so many, it's hard to name them all.
We can't name them all.
That much.
I mean, Mac 10.
Yeah, and it came from that one little egg. Two guys
you know what?
looking at
I'll
a
take
Run
it even
DMC
further.
show. Yeah.
I'll take it even further.
Two guys.
The whole Priority Records roster. Y'all made Priority
because
Records.
it was all they had was the California Raisins. That's all Priority had was California Raisins. It was platinum, but that's all they had. They didn't have nothing else. That's why E picked Priority, because they can work harder. The big labels, Capitals, and all that, they ain't working hard for it. No, they got too much going on. Too much going on. Now think about this. All this came from when me and Dre was looking at Run DMC. They came to the L.A. for the first time at our club. We DJing, and we watched a 10-minute show. We see them do, I think it was just Sucker MCs. They did the show, 10 minutes, then threw the mics down and folded their hands. That was their show. And me and Dre looked at each other and said, that's it? That's all it takes to make music? That's it? And we did music. That was the beginning. And look what came from it. I mean, oh my God. Bone Thugs and Harmony. I mean, so much that came from it. It's just crazy.
Now I got a question shot to me here. I got a question shot to me here in regards to the Niggas for Life album. Tim Perkins from Collie, he wanted to know what was the process like creating the second album. Budget wise, did it feel like shit reaching to another level? And also creatively, how different was the approach from the first album, if any, outside of Cube not being there?
It was, the first one was a challenge. Can we be anything without Cube? So Cube was 1/3 of the voice that was gone. So it's like, can we do that? And on that album, even though Straight Outta Compton was a better album, but production-wise, the second album was better. We grew up. The production skills grew on that album. Much fatter music, more sound. It's just way better because we used less samples because we was the poster child of the lawsuits for samples from our album, from Straight Outta Compton. So that album used less samples, but it was a much better produced, bigger. Well, I wouldn't say if it was a bigger budget because we did the same thing. We just had the studio blocked out. So we just did the album. It might have took a month and a half, 2 months, maybe about 2 months, maybe. But it was just, we grew up. The sound grew up. Everything. It's just a much better produced, mixed, everything album. It was more harder.
Ask you this, Yella. Was this around the time Above the Law? Would Above the Law come in around this time helping y'all out with the sound, or would they come later on in terms of that? Or were they always there during the process?
Dre had did their album. But they wasn't in the studio with us unless on the commercial when they came and did some vocals on the intro. Yeah,
sir.
on the intro. Producer wise,
Okay.
no, they wasn't in the studio, but they had did their album. Dre had did their album.
Got you.
So yeah.
Yeah, and not to mention, Ren stepped up big time on the mic too. I mean, he was never no slouch, but he was a straight assassin on that joint.
To me, Ren was the strongest voice in the group. He had the strongest voice. He had the sound. Cube had the style. But then once Cube left, Dre had to step up and fill them shoes. He definitely had to step up. But Ren, he came hard. I mean, the tracks was just harder. The tracks was much harder.
Yeah.
But the Straight Outta Compton is more popular than that album because it just you can't beat the original. You just cannot beat the original. Even though the second one make that one sound like nothing, but you just can't beat that original.
Yeah, sonically, y'all was on point with it, and y'all between the skits and being that you was part of that album, did you guys get a ton load of flack for that? Because I can't imagine, like with the songs and the direction you guys went for that album.
I don't.
This was the 90s.
Somebody actually, either the whole album or a song, I think it was the whole album, how many times you said the N-word. Somebody counted them. I forgot how many it was, but somebody actually, I think it was a song, maybe, or something. It was just like, wow. Somebody really did that. Counted every word. That song, that album was really raw. I mean, it was just, but it was polished.
I mean, Appetite for Destruction, Real Niggas, I mean, Automobile,
She swallowed
Always
it.
in the Sunset.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
Even a skip for One Less Bitch was letting it there.
Yeah.
Man, he's like, man, what the fuck wrong with you, man? Shoot this bitch in my shit. You should have got it on the first.
I like the Don't Drink This Wine. Oh my God, it's just so much. Wow. Always into something. It's just, man, that was a classic album there too.
Yes, it was.
That was a classic album. It didn't sell like, it went platinum, but it didn't do triple and stuff like the Straight Outta Compton. I don't know why. It just, Because I guess we broke up all at the same time, so somehow I got lost in the wash. But it was still, still a platinum album, but it should have been double, at least double.
The split with Q played a role?
Wait a minute, what was that again?
You think the split with Ice Cube played a role in the album? You feel like it not going triple or quadruple?
Something, I don't know. That's a hard question. I could imagine him being on that album too. It would just been unheard of. Then it might have blew Straight Outta Compton out the water. If Q would have been on that album. It might have just made Straight Outta Compton like it was a kid's toy. But, I mean, it still held its ground. It did hold its ground. Definitely.
Now, before we go a little further, Yella, I got to ask you this from you being an industry veteran in terms of just getting your opinion on what it's like today. When artists come into the game now, what you mentioned earlier, and we really want to get your extended opinion, your knowledge, your wisdom on this. How important is it for artists to understand what they are signing coming into the game? And number two, how important is it for them to watch who is around them on their day-to-day, not only their business aspects, but just who's around them in general in terms of just influence and productivity?
Well, I'll answer the second one first. Problem nowadays with people around them, they got phones everywhere, cameras everywhere. So they posting everything, So you could either do something great or you could do something bad and be all over everywhere. So that's like, wow, social media is just something else. Now, to answer the first question, lawyer. That's the key to everything. Entertainment, music, doesn't matter. It's a lawyer. You need a lawyer to look at stuff. So he could tell you about publishing. Publishing is 200%. Music, 100. Lyrics, 100. Most of people don't know that. Then you got producer credits. You got artists, mechanical. It's so, well, they don't really sell actual pieces no more, so the mechanicals may not be there no more, but it's so much to one record. The one that owns the publishing is the one that makes all the money, or keep on making money later down when a movie want to use a song or something like that.
Or commercial.
It's the publishing. Yeah, it's publishing. But do the movie use the real song? See, then you get paid for that. If they use an original song, like our movie, it used original songs. So that's, that's like getting paid all over from the beginning. But it's so many ways, but the key word is lawyer. I ain't talking about no manager. We talking about a lawyer. A manager will get you in a whole bunch of mess.
Yeah.
They think they're a lawyer, but they ain't.
And we're gonna and Yella, we're gonna get into the movie later. We want to talk a little bit about you in terms of actually what happened, after you left, after the group dissolved and you all went your separate ways, because you found yourself in another profession that I think we all can appreciate and really enjoy. A lot of us, how we learned our stroke game from, to please the ladies out there. How did you find yourself coming into the adult film industry?
Well, my buddy Big Man, he originally went to E. This was after Dre left. He went to E and asked him, do you want to shoot adult movies? E never gave him an answer. He came to me. I said, yeah, okay, let's do it. Just like that. It wasn't even a thought of nothing. Because I jumped into it not to see the girls. I jumped into it as producing, just like a producer of a record. I jumped into it as a filmer. I went and bought the cameras, the still cameras, the computer, the edit. I did everything. Put the hip-hop music into it. So I went in as a business. And I did that once E died on his funeral day. They just put the dirt, pounded it in the ground, and I stood right there on the grave, next to the grave. I didn't stand on the grave, but next to the grave, and I said, I'm done with music. Just like that. Wasn't even a thought. Wasn't even a second thought. From that day on, I did adult movies for 15 years, over 350 movies. And that's just a small estimate, I think. Yeah, over
Fat Dog Productions, movies. Right?
Huh?
Fat Dog Productions.
No, Fat Dog was just one of the distributors.
Okay, one distributor.
Mine was called Low Key, but I had Hidden Beat. I mean, not Hidden Beat, but I had all kind of distributors. I had like 4 or 5 different distributors.
Oh,
that
you
I
were
was
paid
movies for every month.
You were doing it.
I was doing it. Oh yeah, because I didn't jump in it for the fun. I jumped in it as business. So every movie I make was like producing a song or an album. That's just how I looked at it. It just bam for 15 years until it dried up in like 2008. That's when the internet started to get big, and then you could find the content all over the internet for free. So nobody was buying the stuff no more. So that's when I said, I'm done with this. And it was that easy. I just stopped.
But that's wild, though, because you know what, Yella? The thing is, even with, in full disclosure, because like I said, I have nothing but the utmost appreciation for what y'all do. But even some of the stuff out there now, like the 24/7 series and all that, like that stuff is hard to find now on physicals.
Oh, really?
So there's no telling. Yeah.
I've done so many different lines. Oh, my God. I can't even think of the name. I even made my last project was called Straight Outta Compton. This was like 2008. I made 2 movies, Straight Outta Compton Part 1, Part 2. This was years before the movie was even thought of.
Yeah, DJ Yella's. Yeah, I remember seeing it.
Yeah, and you can't find that nowadays. Because when the movie came out, it just seemed like you couldn't find that no more. Like they
The copyright.
Took it off.
Private copyright.
Yeah, something they did you could not find. Okay.
Now, y'all talking about I had to leave for a second. Y'all talking about like physicals and copies?
No,
yeah,
like the actual DVDs. The tapes, VHS tapes. Yeah. Once 08 came around, people wasn't buying the pieces no more. They can go get it downloaded for free online and stuff. So that's what killed that business for me. It's still going on, I guess. But that's when I said, I'm done with that one. Just like music. 2 seconds I said I was done with music, and I was done with that. I didn't even think about it, didn't come back to it, nothing at all. I cleaned my hands with it, I was done.
But that's a testament to it, Yella, because when we watched the Defiant Ones with Jimmy Iovine and Dre, of course, interviewing, they said about Jimmy, that is the one thing with Jimmy Iovine that made him so successful. He got to the zenith of what he was going to accomplish, and he was able to just stop it and move to something else. And you've done the same thing. In show business, we call it the second act. And, you have been so successful. Tell us about, because we still haven't got to the movie yet, and we're going to. But tell us about, the book, your autobiography that you released this summer, because now we can add author to your already impressive and legendary credentials.
Author, me? Wow, I never even opened a book before in my life. Never. Still to this day, I have not opened a book and read one at all. And it just, during the whole pandemic, it was a year and a half, it just came to me to write the book. And I didn't write it because the movie didn't have my character that much in the movie. I liked the movie. It had nothing to do with that. I just wrote my story. This is my story. And in Wrecking Crew NWA happened to be in my story. Before Wrecking Crew, during Wrecking Crew, before NWA, the breakup, Eazy, all the way up into, from 4 or 5 years old, all the way up into 2020. My whole life. And a lot of the missing puzzles and pieces is in that book. It's just,
wow.
I just said how it went. This is what happened. This is how it happened. Not to make me look all like bad or something like that. No, this is just how it happened. When I met Dre, everything. Just the breakups, when they left, and when Dre called me about leaving, and I didn't give him an answer. I didn't give him an answer to that question when he said he was leaving. I did not give him an answer till 2019 when I went to his house. That's when I gave him an answer. And I didn't have an answer. I was just caught in the middle of Dre was leaving. I really didn't know what was going on. And I was just there. I didn't say, okay, I'm going to stay with E. No, I didn't make a decision. I didn't give no decision.
Gotcha.
I just got put into the situation. That's all it was. I just got put into that. But all that's in the book. I mean, all of it. And people that read it, they like the book. Amazon, it got 5 stars and stuff. So, but I just tell my story in order with pictures, all kind of stuff.
And
a lot of those pictures I've never seen before. That's what makes the book stand out as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been just been having them pictures, just sitting there for the longest. Because I was the only one that was really taking the pictures back then. Because everybody didn't have a cell phone like nowadays and all that. But I was the only one that was really kind of taking pictures and keeping pictures. So they were just sitting around. I'm like, why am I keeping all these pictures? But now I know the reason why. It was for the book.
Yeah. And you know what, Yella? It's important because over the past year, we have lost so many hip-hop legends, in the past 3-4 years. I mean, we've lost Shock G, we've lost Prodigy, we've lost DMX, we've lost Prince Markie D. We've lost Andre Harrell,
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, we've lost, Chucky Thompson. And this is why your archive
in written text are so important to the culture because you mean so much to all of us. I don't want to get overly emotional saying it, but you mean so much to all of us for what you all gave us in terms of how you all gave a voice to the oppressed, to the ignored, to the downtrodden, to the hood in general. We can't thank you enough for that. And to have your story is something that is essential reading because to really understand the history, the fabric of this culture we have all grown into and love so much, your story is something that needs to be told. And we're just glad that, you're still here with us and you were here with us to write it because this is, you're one of the MVPs of so many living legends in the game, and this is one of the reasons why this show is so special for us, because we want to give you our flowers of appreciation to you while you're here, to Eazy posthumously, to Dre, to Ren, to Q, to all of you for what you have contributed and given us and the world.
It's it's so crazy. It's just amazing. I'm just sitting here looking at the book on the bed, and it's just like that book has the history of L.A. hip hop scene because it was before that scene started, and I put in how I got into it and all that with the beef. The beefs with the Uncle Jam's Army, which was a rival crew for the Wrecking Crew. Egypt and all them, that was rival stuff. So it's a lot of story in there.
Yeah,
man. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay.
Now the movie. When you all were collectively approached about a biopic that was actually going to be produced, because the movie was released in 2015, and we had heard about it a couple years before. What was that like in terms of really like how did that hit you? Like, wow, our story is really going to be told.
I wasn't in that process. I was not in that process. They came to me after all that.
Okay.
After it's in the book too. So they came to me after all that. I wasn't in none of that. So I have no idea, what was going on. I remember Q telling me that Universal picked the movie up, and that was in 2013. And he said it's going to be about a year before they start, which they filmed in 2014. And I didn't talk to their lawyers until 2014, January 2014. They offered me, I don't want to say nothing bad. They offered me something.
Got you.
It's something.
We're not going to get in your pockets.
It was something.
Got you.
I put it like this: I couldn't retire on it. But that was it. I told them about the studio scene, not the scene, but what was in the equipment we used. That's about all I did. Because I guess nobody else remembered all the equipment and what kind of studios, what they looked like. So I did a little of that. Told them what machines, how the studio looked, this and that. But that was about it. And one thing Cube asked me about the day before shooting, when they shot the scene of the diss song came out, and my character said they got us. I told him that's what I said back then.
Right.
Even though the scene looked like that, it wasn't a scene like that. But I remember, and I told him, he said, "What happened?" Because I wasn't there. I said, "Well, I just said you got us. That was it. Well, nothing else to be said. You got us." Because he made a whole song about it. We only took pop shots at him.
Right.
So that was it. That was my consulting job. But I liked the movie. The movie was great to me. I ain't mad at it, but that's all I did.
But one thing about it in a historical context, Yella, was before anything, King and myself, we want the youngins out there because we lived through that era. So we really know the significance, the monumental contributions you all made. We want the youngins out there to really understand what you all meant and how legendary you are. And I think and the movie, because when we saw it, we were like, we were not, disappointed at all. We were like, as far as we knew, because like you said, back in the day, we didn't have social media. The magazines that were really like the Source. Source was just starting out back in '88. Shout out to Dave Mays, Don Schechter. Of course, with Word Up magazine. Shout out to John Blasingame. The creator of that. So these are like publications that really we were getting our hip hop information from. This was something for, I think, the youth to really understand their history and, like we say, do the knowledge, understand what was going on at the scene.
Oh yeah, and that movie created a whole new era of fans, much younger. I mean, 20-year-olds and stuff like, oh man, I just grew up. I'm like, 20, you ain't even thought of, but that movie opened the eyes. I don't think it was just the eyes because of the social media. It's so worldwide, so instantly. It was around the world. It was just like, wow. And I went to a couple of theaters to look at the movie the first weekend, and I was just going to the movie theater. Nobody knew I was coming or nothing. I just watched, and I said, wow, was we really that big like that? It's just amazing to see your story. And that's another amazing thing is that they made a story about us. 5 people from Compton, from the ghetto or something, and they made a story about us. That's just amazing to me.
Now we got to ask y'all this question: Was the road really that wild and like it was in the movie where y'all was on tour? Was it really that crazy?
See, just like my book, I throw myself under the bus. So I ain't gonna throw nobody else under the bus. For me, it was. I can throw myself under the bus. Yes, I mean the road was it for me. I mean that was life.
Oh man, oh wow. We can only imagine. I mean, the world's most dangerous route.
Yeah, you can't imagine just looking at yourself at the big screen. I ain't talking about a local TV role, but having the autobiography done in your life. That's a milestone stuff right there.
Yeah.
Somebody playing me.
I mean, that's kind of weird. It's kind of like, wow, what? Wow. I mean, it was the number one musical until the last one that just knocked us off. Rap City or whatever that last one was. But I'm just like, really? On the big screen, Universal? And because I took my kids, before the movie came out, I took them to Universal Studios. And I'm just looking around. I didn't really put 2 and 2 together. And I'm looking around. I'm looking on the walls. I'm like, wait a minute, that's our poster. I look on another wall. I'm like, I forgot. Universal made the movie. And you can see it all over Universal Studios. I'm just like, now that was just amazing. Whoever would have thought that we would have been doing something like that? Even the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We never thought of that when we did the music back then. It never even wasn't even thought, just to make it a few bucks. That's all it was. Not even a gold record, not even triple platinum, none of that. That wasn't even a thought at all. We never made a song that said, oh, we're going to go platinum on this. We never did that.
It was just y'all expressing y'all stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We just said it like it was.
Those that are influenced by your music far and wide, Jeezy, the late great Nipsey Hussle, Mozzie, Kendrick, Cam and China, Compton AV, AD, Jay Stylin, Gucci Mane, they because they all have that, that street element that really comes in there more. When you look at the hip-hop rap game today, how do you feel about the culture in terms of where it has changed to, in terms of what we're seeing now? Who are some of the artists out there, no matter the genre, who you really, really, really enjoy listening to?
It's so crazy. I don't listen to music anymore. Only music I listen to is classical music, piano and cello. I really don't listen to it over here. Yeah, I just don't. I mean, Kendrick is cool and stuff like that. I'm just not into the music because it's, it's still selling, so I guess it's still working. But there's so many groups now. It's not even really groups. All solo artists and stuff. It's just so many that it's watered down. That's why only a few stands out more than any other one. Because 10 people sound the same. Sound like the same producer and stuff. But that's just what this new millennium listen to. That's just their style. So I can't thrash it because that's what they listen to now. It's just their style, what they talking about. It's just a totally different one. It's still hip-hop, but it's just totally different. So, only ones that's going to survive it is the ones that stand out. Only the ones that stand out. Different from everybody. But, I mean, it's still selling. So, they must be doing something right. It's staying. It ain't going nowhere. So, hip-hop is here to stay.
Yeah. And I think when we look at it, because like you said, Yella, the music, when we look at it now, it seemed like you have to have a certain standard back in the day. Shout out to Uncle Richie Rich from the Bay. We've had him on a couple times. And Rich would tell us when we interviewed him, like up there, like the OGs were not letting you in the studio until your shit was right. Because you was representing the hood. And it's like now with camera
anybody
phones,
can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
Anybody,
yeah.
Everybody got a video. Everybody got a single. Everybody, that's just the way the market is now. TikTok, YouTube, you can become a star overnight. Back then, if you didn't have no talent, your song ain't going nowhere. Or you're not even going to be on a song back in them days. But nowadays, it's totally different.
Hey,
a lot of the people nowadays,
nowadays,
a lot of these artists and stuff, they wouldn't have made it back in our day. Nah, you had to be coming. All the groups, I don't care where it's from, Bay Area, New York, that they was hitting. Texas, I mean, you had to come strong. There wasn't no weak ones back then. Different styles, but there wasn't no weak ones. Nowadays, there's just so many. Too many. There's almost more artists than fans. Almost. Because everybody's an artist. Everybody got a demo. Ain't even demos no more. They got videos, singles, and mixtapes.
Everybody got a mixtape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
everybody
man.
got a mixtape. Now, I want to ask you, it's about two albums in particular. I had to leave for a second, but I don't know if you and T-Max built on that. But I want to talk about the solo album that you did, like back in '96. It had the For the East tribute.
Yeah.
Was there like a challenge of you putting that together without Dre and Cube and Eazy?
What's so crazy? The year before, I had said I was done with music. So I wouldn't think about it. Then a year later, somebody, the label wanted me to do an album. I'm like, I'm not an artist. I'm not a rapper. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I had to get the guys that was on the later Ruthless days, the BG Knockouts and the Drasters and their sister and other people like that. And I made the album just for a tribute to him, not as trying to make a hit or something. It was just more for him. Just, this is my last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to make this for him. So that's how I made the album. I didn't think of it as, should I get Cube on it? I didn't think about none of that at all. None of that. It just was made from the heart. That's what it was. And this is what I came up with, from the heart.
Yeah, and the other album, too, Straight Out of the Streets from Motherfucking Compton, was that supposed to have been a double album?
Well, Temporary Insanity was original. It was just a title. It never was an album. And it wasn't supposed to be a double album because there weren't that many songs made. All the songs that was left that he done was on that album. And this is the crazy part. I had that album sitting in the studio since he died until a year later when the courts came and asked me about it. I had forgot all about that album. But Mr. Manager, in between that year, tried to get that album from me. He invited me to his house, and he, just talking and talking. And he eventually was saying about the last album. And then when I left that day, I talked to my buddy. I said, did he just try to get the album from me that I forgot all about? I was like, wow, really? And I didn't think nothing else about it. 6 months went past. Then the courts came to me about the album. I said, I got the album sitting in the studio. It was just sitting right there. You guys could have been came and got it. I wasn't holding it for no ransom and stuff like that. No. I just told them, hey, I'll put it together. You want me to put it together? I'll put it together. Just find out what you owe me, and that's it. There wasn't no ransom. I want $1 million. You can have it out. No. I wouldn't have done E like that, so why would I do it now? And that was it. That's all. That album sat there for a year, just in the vault at the studio. I never even thought about it because I gave up music. That was it. I was done. If this Scotty brother wouldn't have came after me to do an album, I wouldn't have been doing no music at all. But I did my solo album. I did E's solo album, and I did the greatest hit, the NWA, all at the same time.
Oh, wow.
All at the same time. Yeah. It's all that's in the book. All of it. I'm telling you, it's a lot of pieces in there. A lot.
Look, the kid's got the capers because we know that's what you went under your name as a director when you was doing you did the movie.
The kid, yeah. The kid came from Purple Rain. That was Prince's nickname, the Kid.
Right.
Wow. I ain't heard that name in a long.
Yeah, and on top of that, it just shows how sharp you are when it came to curating the greatest hits because it actually flowed. It had flow structure too. Like those albums had flow structure.
It was like our album. It was like our album with the stuff in between. I found old tapes of our 900 number and stuff that was in the studio. And I just used all that stuff.
I remember the commercial. Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because we had a real 900 number back in the early days. Yeah, I remember we ended up, doing recordings on them, did them, and they was in the studios. I used them. Just like E's last album. I had to put together, they put some of his old talkings from the 900 number 2 that I put on there. And on the last song that Zap Roger did, I had to find some vocals to put on there from him.
Now, in terms of throwbacks, Yella, because I don't know if King sent you this, I actually have the original copy of the the Niggas for Life home video cassette. I actually have that.
I got one too in storage.
Oh man, and I mean, just looking at it is like,
it's so funny. I edited that. That was my first editing.
Oh wow!
For the
okay.
movie. Yeah, I edited that all together. I didn't do the computer. I just told the guy what to use. I went through the tapes, picked out stuff, marked them up, and then told the guy he put it in the Avid and edited. But I told him what to edit and all that stuff. That was my first actual editing. And after that, I started doing movies, edited them myself.
So you were pretty much.
But I didn't get any credit. I didn't get no credit on that one.
But I mean, you were already like, I mean, dude, it's like we're getting all this information. A lot of this that I don't know if you've ever told anybody else.
Never.
When
I have not.
Yeah. So we got exclusives here, and it's. I mean, but your talent is. I mean, the talent that you have is like, because when I was growing up, I always like, the light skin dude in the group always the most quiet one. So we never heard you say much.
I was quiet. I didn't like to talk. Oh yeah.
But to get all this history, man. I mean, this is great. I mean,
because I never talked in interviews this deep. Never. Nobody never asked. Nobody never went that deep. That knew to go that deep. They just didn't know. They use the standard, the standard questions and all that, but that's what the book is all about. It's the same thing. It goes deep like this. Stuff that never was even mentioned. Not at all.
Yeah, because it has a rich history.
And I didn't throw nobody under the bus. It ain't a tell-all, because I've seen things, I've heard things, but it's not in the book. I'm not that kind of person. No. Mm-mm.
It also captivates because we go through that stage of today's journalism where everybody is wanting to expose people and tell off or click. But at the end of the day, it's about the music, man. And then and you guys, y'all catapulted and did a transition to where, man, we still eating off that tree today, and we inspired by that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's just wow. It's just amazing. It's just, man. I didn't really think until I wrote the book. I didn't know I did that much life. I did a lot of life. It's just like, wow, I did all that. It's just like, wow, man. Oof.
When you sit back. When you sit back in your golden years,
especially when you living through it, it's one thing for us to be like giving, an analyst from the outside in, but when you living through it and been through those sessions and met these people, it's a totally different dialogue, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's why I don't listen to music now. You get in my car, the music is just all the way down because being in the studio for that long and all that over and over, I just like, okay, I'm good. I don't need to be hearing all this.
Yeah. But
I mean,
it's
kind of like Jordan don't want to look at basketball after he done put up all those numbers for 30-something years.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Look, I was watching a joint with Matt Barnes. Shout out to the Bay where he's repping. Got his Up and Smoke podcast. One of the truest dudes out there that ever lace him up. And Matt Barnes said when he retired, he hadn't played because I think Barnes retired like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and he said he hadn't picked up a basketball since. It was it was like just when he was done with the game, he was done with it.
It's like when you get satisfied with it, you're good. Okay, I don't need it no more. Like with the music, I'm done with it. When I finish with the adult, okay, I'm done with it. That's it. I ain't got to do it no more. I ain't got to look at it no more. I'm good. At all. Let me move on.
So as you're in your golden years, Yella, of being a living legend and obviously, a sound mind, body, and spirit, because we see a lot of people, no matter the genre, hip-hop, rock,
whatever, celebrities, movie actors and actresses, they crash and burn from their habits. One thing that is so refreshing to see is you're healthy, you're happy, you've lived a full life. What is the average day like for you in terms of just getting up in the morning and just basking and,
I can get up, go to the gym, I can come home and do nothing. Or go outside and sweep the leaves up or something. That's just relaxation. Because now I'm into church now. I've been saved almost 9 years. Now, people don't know this. I was homeless in late 2010 for 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Right before the movie came out. Not on the street homeless, but homeless. Had to sleep on my sister's couch, stuff like that. Yeah, I was homeless, and I didn't ask anybody for help, or I didn't think of, why don't I just produce something? None of that. God had to come and get me. He had to clean me out, and he came and got me. Then I got married after I got saved, and I've been in church ever since. I'm a deacon in the church. Bible study on Tuesdays, church on Sundays. My mind, what's so crazy? I have peace and joy. But people think you can get peace and joy from the money. It's not. You can't buy it. You can't steal it. You can't go borrow it. It only comes from God. And I was sitting right where I'm sitting now, talking to you, and I was looking down the hallway one day, and I said, this is peace and joy. It wasn't about no money, nothing. I don't stress about anything at all. I put it like this. If a bill comes in, either you got the money or you don't got the money. Why be in the middle and stress about it? That's all it is.
Right.
You got it or you don't. Why? Because stressing about it ain't going to fix it at all. But I never have stressed in my whole life. That's just the way I've been. But I'm at peace now and joy. And that's who gave me to write the book was God. I never wanted to write a book at all. And he gave me all the detail because the book is 329 pages, 93,800 words. And how can I remember all them words, all them details from the years? If y'all read the book, you'll be amazed. It goes into such deepness. What's been going on all before the music, after the homeless, all that is in the book. All of that.
We need to, because I'm an avid reader. I'll have to.
Oh, really?
You
need to read it.
Do. Yeah, I do.
And people say
it's
a good read. I don't know what that is because I never read a book, but they say it's a good read. They said, it's just like you sitting there talking to us. It's because God gave me the words to write, and it just flows. It just you'll be amazed how it ends up and stuff like that. I mean, from 4 or 5 years old, it's pretty amazing.
The Lord gives you that vision in terms of your life because He knows you have a message to deliver to the masses. He opens up that door of memory that you can walk down the halls of recollection, and from that you are able to bring articulation. The anointing cannot be duplicated. It cannot be manufactured. It is a genuine blessing that comes to you. And I always tell everybody, do not ever underestimate the power of the written word. Do not ever dismiss the grace of God that gives you that blessing, that anointing, that gift to tell it to the world.
Because my book, I didn't make the book for money. I made it for the testimony about God, how good He was. He came and got a sinner like me. I'm thinking I'm the worst sinner. And He came and got me. He still loved me and saved me. It's my testimony to show how good He is. And that's exactly what the book says.
if you
I
giving
threw you
advice
guys for a loop on that one, huh?
Well, we yeah. I mean, we did our homework. You know, we flubbed a little bit of information. Well, myself, I flubbed a little bit of information through this interview in a couple parts. But we always made it a point to do our homework the best we knew how. You know, King and myself. You know, we always make it a point to. What advice would you tell artists in terms of maintaining their sanity in terms of being in this business? Because we've seen people self-destruct in it in terms of they thought they wanted the fame and the fortune, and when they got it, we're not going to ask you about some of the stuff you saw in terms of certain artists during that time in terms of certain things they were involved in. That's not the type of outfit we run here. But what do artists have to understand in terms of, because you guys were doing it at the time. I mean, what do artists today have to understand about what this business really entails?
I mean, we did our thing, but you know, we did it in the early days with no contracts, no lawyers, no nothing, and we still maintain our. Yeah, I mean, we I'm speaking for me. I was never on drugs or nothing, so that's what gets a lot of them is the drugs. You know, you know, they want to be whatever they want to be. Me, I just always was, well, if I make enough money, I'm good. I'm cool. I never wanted to be the superstar. I never wanted to be that kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm good. I got enough. I made enough, or whatever the case may be. I'm good. I'm okay. But a lot of people, they can't handle this business. You want to be rich and famous? Okay, this is what comes with being rich and famous. All this stuff comes with it. Did you sell your soul for it? I know I didn't. So it's a lot of people want to be in that entertainment, but like me, I wouldn't want my kids to be in entertainment at all. Nah, it's just it's hard. It's you got to have some tough skin to be in this business. I don't mean to hold you guys up, but I got another interview at 8:00.
Oh no, you're good. I mean, if you got to go, you got to go. Yella,
There's one from I'm doing one in Australia, so a Zoom. But I mean, I could be here for all day for talking.
We've enjoyed this. We have enjoyed this.
No, but you guys have real questions. Not really. I wouldn't even call them questions. Real thoughts and stuff. It ain't just like an everyday interview. No, we got deep here. We went real deep, and that's rare because I usually don't talk too deep, you know, to people. But I enjoyed this. This was relaxed. You see, the time went by. 2 hours flew by.
Yeah. Man, 10:50. We almost 7 minutes in. I was like, wow, the build is that crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, you guys should both read the book. And we can do a part 2.
We're gonna get it.
Yeah.
We're gonna promote the hell out of it.
We'll do a part 2 because then you have even more questions, more all kind of stuff. It shows my whole life. Towards the end, when God came and got me, it's just because I was not looking for Him. I never knew nothing about God. I heard of Him. My mother mentioned it, but I never knew nothing. I wasn't, even when I was homeless, I was not looking for Him. I didn't know you could look for Him or talk to Him or ask Him. I didn't know none of that. I had never been in the church. None of that. Nobody ever ministered to me. Nothing. But it's all in the book how it happened. You'll be amazed. You will be amazed.
That's my next pickup. We're gonna promote it all over once we get our hands on it.
Okay.
Is it
man, I'm gonna tell you, man, because see, a friend of mine got the book actually, and I let him, and he let me borrow it, and he got it back. So I'm probably like 100 already in. So I got to read the rest from him. I'm like, man, I'm about to get my own. I ain't waiting on you, cuz. Straight up.
Do you have it in the retail
outlet? He kept telling me, I'm going to bring it back, man. I'm going to bring it back. I'm like, man, I'm just going to get my own.
It's at Amazon. You You can get Amazon the paperback or the ebook. Ebook is cheaper. Or autographed ones come from my website.
Oh,
at
perfect.
DJYella of NWA.com.
Okay.
But yeah, I want you guys to read it. Then let's do a part 2.
We're here for it. We're here for it.
Definitely, man. We enjoyed the bill, man.
And we got to say, and we say
like
this respectfully, because we got to use your government for this. Mr. Carabee, this has been an honor. This has been a privilege. We can't wait to do this again with you. God bless you and your family. Stay blessed. Thank you so much from both of us.
Yeah, and God bless both of you guys. And call me when you're ready.
Yes, sir.
It is, man.
Yeah, just send me an email. Say, hey, we finished. I'm like, okay, let's find a date. Let's set it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna give my boy on that book, man. I'm like, look, man, I'm gonna need to read the second half. You holding off on me. Now he ain't picking up his phone.
Yeah. Okay, I got to do this Zoom for Australia, so.
Okay, man. Look,
okay, so yeah, let me know when you guys do that. When you guys read it, let me know.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's a bet.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Peace. 1.